Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Patti Brennan Show. Whether you have $20 or $20 million, this show is for those of you who want to protect, grow, and use your assets to live your very best lives. My name is Carrie Brennan, and I'm going to be stepping in today as guest host for a special New Year podcast. So with me here today is Patti Brennan. Welcome to the show, Patti.
Thank you so much. It's kind of fun sitting on this side of the camera. It's wonderful.
So what we did, so a little bit of background about me. I have been producing the Patti Brennan Show for the past 8 years. And what we do every year is we take a look at all of the podcast episodes of the year, and we ask ourselves, what were the most listened to podcasts of the year and the most shared podcasts of the year? And it was really interesting when we looked at the data this year, because the most shared podcasts were not those timely, quick-hitting, trendy topics, but actually those timeless, classic questions, things like retirement, longevity, staying calm in uncertain markets, and estate planning. And if there's one thing that I've learned from you over the years, it's that those are the topics that matter.
I'm so glad to hear that you've learned something from me, Carrie. That's awesome.
I'm in communications here. I do not have my CFP. So I have picked up a few things over the year, and that is the one thing. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, because you know what? They're tried and true. They are the fundamentals. They are the things that people need to hear over and over again, because otherwise they're going to be making mistakes, and we don't want that to happen. That's why we do this show.
So today is going to be kind of a bird's eye approach. So how we're going to do this is we're going to go through the top 5 podcasts one by one, starting with number 5. And we're going to share 3 takeaways that you listeners can listen to and bring into 2026 with you. How does that sound?
Great. I hope I can think of the 3 takeaways. That's for sure.
Well, that's why you have me.
Okay, good.
So,
all right, tee it up.
All right. So number 5 was episode 183, Disruption Done Right, Leading Through Change with Jamie Price. And this podcast was really interesting because this was pretty on the fly, right?
It was totally on the fly. And what I love about Jamie is he gives it to us real. So Jamie Price is the CEO, the leader of Osaic. We clear through Osaic as a broker-dealer. What they went through was an Herculean feat. His vision was to pull together 9 separate broker-dealers, all with their own presidents, their own systems, their own way of doing business, and put it under the Osaic umbrella. And it was crazy. And he said, we're going to do it in a year, and it's going to be disruptive. There's going to be a lot of change, and we're going to do it anyway. We are going to come out of this a much better entity for the advisors that we serve and for the clients who they serve. And here we are today. And boy, his vision has come through even beyond what I would have hoped.
As a leader yourself, what did you take from that episode?
When people are going through change, clarity is so important. Be very clear and communicate well and often. Be very clear about the impact that it's going to be. It's about the impact that it's going to have on the people that you serve.
How do you give clarity when you don't have certainty as a leader?
It's a great question. Clarity, it comes from a plan. It starts with the vision. You know, I mean, on the fly, 5 and 5, right? That is the vision. I don't know quite now how we're going to get there. I don't care about the how. We're just going to get there, and we're going to figure it out along the way, because I believe in our people. The most important thing is to believe in the people that you work with and work it out together. There's going to be a lot of disruption, and people aren't going to be happy. Nobody likes change. At the end of the day, we have to give everyone hope. Recognize the pain that they're going through and give them hope. Say it's going to get better. And that's what Jamie did. He did that by showing up in our office. He is the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, and yet he showed up at Key Financial to see how we were doing. That's big.
So to just kind of wrap this up, showing up matters no matter what. Clarity and communicate. And even when you don't know how you're going to get there, instilling hope in the people that you lead is so important.
And believing in the people that you're leading.
And sticking to the plan.
And he stuck to the plan.
Yeah.
And 12 months later, here we are. It's a great company, and I'm so proud to be affiliated with them.
So this leads, we're talking a lot about uncertainty and leading through uncertainty. And this brings us to our number 4 most shared episode, which was a tie between episode 179 and 180. And both of these episodes talked about your relationships with wholesalers and how they add value to your business. So can you share a little bit about those episodes?
Sure. So a wholesaler is someone who represents another entity. And they basically, they could be like, for example, Lee Cohen represents New York Life Investments. I like working with Lee because he's very transparent. He has a very high standard and understands that we also have a very high standard regarding who we let into our office. Give it to us straight, be transparent. I don't care about personalities. I care about substance. That's what we are here to do. We are here as kind of the people who understand what they do and to vet out the companies that aren't really providing much value. Mm-hmm. That's what we want to do. We want to add value. We want to make sure that they're adding value to our clients' lives. How do they do that? Is it through rate of return? Sometimes. Sometimes it isn't. It could be some of their thought leadership. It could be in other areas. That's what we look for in a wholesaler. Give us access to your research. Tell us what we should be thinking about. I'm curious. And then we get to compare it to other people and other companies. And then we get to figure out who's really doing what we need them to do for our clients. We have a very high standard for who we let into the room because ultimately they're impacting our clients' lives. And we're not fooling around with their lives. It's important.
And your clients have a high value in what they expect too,
Well, they
right?
trust us. They trust us to be discerning, not to let just anybody in or allow anybody to manage a portion of their portfolio. And why are these people, why does a Lee Cohen have a particular portion of a client's portfolio? There is a reason for everything that we do. And there is value that they need to add. If they don't, see ya. And they know it. We don't have any, it's not about personalities. There's no conflicts of interest. It's what can you do for the clients that we serve?
There's a quote, nobody cares about the storm. All they care about is, did you bring the ship in?
Right.
It's
Bingo. We're bringing the ship in.
Speaking of the ship, the 3rd most popular podcast was Dear Patti, Longevity with Eric. So what do you think the top 3 things people should know about longevity are?
I think longevity is getting a lot of press now, and I'm so proud of the fact that we were way ahead of the curve with our Vitality Hub. Maybe it's the nurse in me. I've always believed that health matters should be a really important part of financial planning because, it's quality of life. That is the most important thing. And how can we help our clients improve the quality of their lives? So it's just really important that people understand that they are more important than their money. And we're all about quality of life.
What do you think people misunderstand about longevity?
I think people think about it in terms of, is she going to be talking about a nursing home again and long-term care? No, that's not what it's about. What it's about is aging in place. What do you want to do? I mean, newsflash, I hate to tell everybody, but we're all getting older. So let's face the facts and understand that it's going to happen. And let's do some brainstorming. Where do you want to age? Do you want to do it in your home? Would you prefer to go to a facility? Tell me about your family. Where do they live? What happens if there's an emergency? Who should be called first? Who should be called second? What about your health care? Who are your doctors, et cetera? I know that sounds like we're getting into the weeds. We get into the weeds because I think it's important because people understand that, yes, we are financial planners, we are managing portfolios, but we're more than that. And that's so important. And this is not about us, it's about the clients. Tell me what's important to you. What does quality of life mean? What does it look like? That's what we're asking.
So it's about turning a burden into an opportunity.
100%. It is not something to be managed. It's something to be embraced.
I love it. So,
and by the way, the earlier you think about it, the more control you're going to have.
Yeah, you wrote about timing. How does timing affect longevity planning?
Big time, because the earlier you start, the more control you have over the process. Timing is everything. And let's not kid ourselves, right? It's going to happen. It's not an if, it's a when. So the sooner we talk about it, the sooner you think about it, the easier it'll be.
I think uncertainty is something big when it comes to thinking about longevity and sort of putting it off. And it kind of leads us into our second most popular podcast, which was Investment Strategies in an Uncertain Market with Brad. There was a lot of uncertainty this year as it relates to the markets. I think you and I were talking last night and you said, Car, this is a perfect example of a textbook year
Totally.
in economics. People will be studying this year for years to come. So what do you think actually helps people navigate through these times of uncertainty as it relates to the markets?
I think what puts people at ease is getting rid of this need to predict things. You don't have to predict anything to succeed. You just have to stick with your plan. The emotional resilience beats financial brilliance every single day. This year is a perfect example. Here we thought that the U.S. was a dominant nation in the world and international securities, forget them. No. We diversified anyway. We didn't look at recent past history and say, forget about that.
Yeah.
We stuck to our knitting and continued to diversify, and that is what is making the difference. So resilience is so important. Understand that markets are going to go through their stuff, and we've got a strategy to work around it.
I think it's such an interesting metaphor for life. Like life is you're going to have your ups and downs. But what do you think is the most important thing for people to understand about staying calm when the markets are kind of on the fritz?
You know, when you ask that question, Carrie, I am reminded of the saying, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. We're going to go through difficult times in our lives. Pain is inevitable. We get it. We understand. And the way you avoid the suffering is understand that it's going to happen and be ready for it. Again, it's the emotional resilience and having people to call on who understand and get you through it.
I think that's what it is. It's the knowledge. Having the knowledge of understanding, okay, this is the markets are doing what the markets do, and I'm working with this advisor who knows me and knows my story, so I can relax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's the confidence. It's knowing that, to your point, Carrie, you don't have to retell your story over and over again. We get it. We already know it. And we understood that this could happen, and we already knew what we would do if it did.
Yeah, I think you're probably one of the most confident people I've ever met in my life. And I think when you break it down, it's like you trust yourself. Like confidence comes from trusting yourself, right? And trust comes from knowledge. And so if you have that
comes from the knowledge. You know what?
Yeah.
I've been through it before. A lot of the things that happen, it's new to the people that are experiencing it. We've experienced it so many times. We never know what's going to happen, but we know what to do when it does.
Amazing. So speaking of that, that leads us into our number one. Now, I don't want you to look at your notes.
Okay.
What do you think the number one most popular, most shared podcast was this year? You can just give me a topic.
Well, I would say it's usually it's the estate planning, what we want to leave to our families, or retirement.
Retirement.
Nailed it?
You nailed
All right,
it.
nailed
It was
it.
retirement with Eric.
Wow.
So retirement is obviously a big hitter. It was the number one concern for listeners this year. What do you think people most need to understand about retirement today?
I think it's not a date. It's a transition. It's a change, and people are afraid of change. Here's the thing. When people first retire, they go through this period of ambiguity. And the ambiguity has to do with, oh boy, I don't have a paycheck anymore. How's this going to work? And I don't have to go up. I don't have a group of people who have to answer to me. Who am I? What is my purpose? What's going to get me out of bed every day? It is a transition on many different levels, and we understand. So just I think it's just important not to hyper-focus on the date, although it's wonderful to have a goal. Recognize that it's a transition. And it's really nice to go through it with somebody who's already gone through it with many other people.
What's the most important action that somebody needs to take who is going into retirement?
I would say a lot of people going into retirement are hyper-focused on rate of return. And to me, that's table stakes, right? It's easy to put together a pie chart. What is far more difficult and far more important, frankly, is understanding what you need and when you're going to need it. It's all about cash flow. That is the ultimate determinant of a successful retirement, making sure you never run out of money. It's setting a goal, understanding what your cash flow needs are, and then monitoring it. We got to make sure that the plan is actually working. Because if it isn't, the sooner you find an issue, the easier it is to fix, right? It's just like healthcare.
You said something on your podcast with Eric, and I'm wondering if you remember it. I'm going to ask you to fill in the blank here.
Oh, boy.
Blank is the most underrated retirement asset. What do you think the most underrated retirement asset is?
Flexibility.
Yes. It was flexibility.
Being flexible. And it's really a mindset. It's understanding that things are going to happen. Be flexible, right? And there are certain things you can't be flexible about, unfortunately. For example, when people turn 73, they have to take out required minimum distributions. What impact is that going to have on their cash flow? Because their taxes are going to go way up. And what can we do to minimize that impact on the longevity of the portfolio? That's really what it's all about. It's, here's the thing. People have to be very clear about and realistic about what it is, what it takes to retire in comfort, right? This is not the time to guess. You got to be real. You got to run the numbers and you got to run the stress test. Understand what's going to make you fail. That, to me, is the most important thing. That's why real financial planning, real wealth management is so important.
So clarity and flexibility.
Bingo.
Retirement.
100%.
Must-haves.
Yep.
So as we step back and kind of look at these 5 episodes, it sounds like we have some very powerful themes here. Clarity over complexity is definitely a big one. Planning over reacting, and people over products. So to close this out, I'm going to ask you one final question.
Oh, boy.
If listeners could do just one thing differently in 2026 because of these conversations, what should it be?
Have a plan. And don't kid yourself. Too many people in America are winging it. And that's why so many people are going to end up in their late 70s and 80s really struggling. Don't kid yourself. Run the numbers. Understand if and how you could be vulnerable, and then make sure that you don't do those things. Risk is so avoidable. You can't manage for returns, but you can manage to avoid risk. And you can transfer it, or you can mitigate it in certain ways. And sometimes you know what those ways are, and sometimes you don't. If you don't, get an expert and keep it real. Don't kid yourself. No guessing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for spending this year with us. Thank you so much for the effort that you put in week by week to give our listeners things that are really going to help them protect, grow, and use their assets to live their very, very best lives. I know you've made such a difference in so many people's lives.
Well, thank you. And thank you for grinding through these podcasts. They are cringeworthy, some of them. I've listened to some of the rough tape. Thank you so much for doing what you do. It's amazing.
Amazing. And thanks to all of you. Thank you for tuning in with us and listening. Remember, send in your questions. What do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn about? We do this for you and because of you. So go to www.keyfinancialinc.com and submit your questions there. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time. The following presentation is sponsored by Key Financial Incorporated. The Patti Brennan Show is intended for general information purposes. Only any non-employee guest speaker who joins Patti Brennan on the show is a guest and is not an affiliate of Key Financial. Their remarks do not necessarily reflect Key Financial's opinions or positions. Key Financial neither prepared nor verified any portion of our non-employee guests' presentation content and has relied upon the accuracy thereof. No portion of the presentation serves as the receipt of or a substitute for personalized investment advice from Key Financial or from any other investment professional of your choosing. Neither the information or opinions contained in this or any podcast, white paper, or on Key Financial Inc.'s website constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any securities and should not be relied upon as financial, legal, or tax advice. Content may be outdated, and past history is no guarantee of future results or experience. Please seek appropriate counsel from qualified professionals who know and understand your goals, objectives, and potential vulnerabilities. Thanks for listening to The Patti Brennan Show, brought to you by Key Financial Inc., wealth management with wisdom and care. Securities offered through Osaic Wealth, Incorporated, member FINRA-SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Key Financial Incorporated. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.